sold out. So that went really well also. So it's not that I don't have problems. It's just that my problems are probably the good kind of problems to have right now.
Sure.
As a company, I'm trying to figure out how I can keep an inventory, which is, it's a good problem to have, but it's still something I need to work around because I need the cash flow to keep my company working.
Sure. So that's one of the pitfalls that happens to a lot of new publishing companies and indie publishers and stuff like that. The cash flow is just, it's got to be tough because you get that big Kickstarter influx and you probably burn through a lot of that early on, especially when you're setting up the company. And then it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
what's the next hit game?
Yeah, yeah, and it's and I mean, imagine how it was before Kickstarter, because
Oh man.
before then, you had all your expenses up
Right.
at the very beginning, and only once everything's paid can the money start to trickle in. I mean, some people can raise capital, some people can take loans, and I might have to go down that route pretty soon, just to make sure things are going. But again, these are very, very good problems to have, because it means there is a demand for my game, and I'd much rather have
Sure.
these problems than have the problem of I have 700, 1,000 copies of my
Right.
game in the warehouse, and I have no idea how to get rid of them. So
Right.
I'd much prefer this problem. Like, okay, maybe I'll have copies to the networks to sell at by the time BGG goes around, but I don't know. Like, I might be sold out of the networks by then. We'll see. Because Bad Medicine sold out very, very, very quickly.
Well, with that many Kickstarter backers, you guys must have had, well, you guys being you must have had one heck of a word of mouth going on. What drove that campaign so successfully? What was like the contributing factor to that?
There were two big contributing factors. I got really, really lucky on two fronts. The first was I sent my game to Rahdo, and I didn't send Bad Medicine to Rahdo because Bad Medicine is not a two-player
Right.
game, and as you probably know, Rahdo really prefers Richard Ham
Yep.
greatly prefers two-player games. So, but the networks plays very well two players, and is also very much a game up his alley in that it doesn't have a lot of direct screwage, not a lot of direct confrontation,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
So between both of those things, it was a game that seemed to be up his alley, and sure enough, he liked it a lot. He put it on his show, and sometimes he'll put a game on his show, and it doesn't get much response, but thankfully, in my case, a lot of his backers watched his run through and really were intrigued by the game, and they backed it. And the other big thing is during Unpub last year, when I was just starting to get publicity out for the Bad Medicine campaign, I brought the networks. Someone played it and then tweeted it, and then Chris from the Flip the Table podcast got really excited about it. Your moderator, Chris, and he was. And he wanted to know more details about the game. So when it came time to send out review copies, I approached him, and I knew that his show is not the kind of forum for my game. Flip the Table is an incredible show. I think it's actually a really good game design podcast, but it covers licensed games from like the 80s and 90s. So they'll do Top Chef, the board game, Trump, the board game, and these games that are just generally really awful. And the reason why I think it's a good game design podcast is we spent a lot of time studying great designs from Knizia and all these other Martin Wallace and all these other great designers. But I think there's a lot to be learned from bad games also, and what they got wrong and how we can improve them. And Flip the Table covers that in a really good way because they're not going to be hurting anyone's feelings.
Right.
Doing this big mass market game is most likely going to be punching up. So anyway, back to I said, look, I don't want my game covered on your show, but if you could give me a quote, I'd happily send you a copy of the game, and if you like it, just send me a quote. And thankfully, he played it a bunch of times. He played it with every possible player count from 1 to 5, and he really enjoyed the game. So he talked it up on his podcast a lot, and then he let me actually advertise on the Flip the Table podcast, which was wonderful. And then I got a bunch of backers from them also. So those were probably two of my biggest sources of backers. Were those two sources?
Fantastic. So you're basically sold out of not the networks.
Bad Medicine.
Bad Medicine and the networks. You're expecting dwindling stock through the year.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if I still had stock next year, even January. It's just got that much demand. I'm still getting pre-orders for it. I'm getting more pre-orders for it right now. It got featured as the #1 anticipated game on the actual LOL game review list, and that John Perkis, I believe, runs that. And he got to play the game when I visited London last October. So it was just a real thrill for me that, he played the game and he made it his #1 list. I was very, very grateful for that.
Fantastic. That's awesome to get that kind of buzz.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of mustard.
So the game's got a great deal of buzz now.
Yeah, that gives you, that's got to give you a lot of gas in the tank as you're trying to get yourself going here. So what do you got? What's coming up next?
So the next thing on the immediate horizon is the expansion to Bad Medicine, which is going to fund the reprint for the game.
Okay.
And, we're talking about cash flow before.
Right.
But the original plan was to fund a reprint for Bad Medicine out of my pocket, but I just didn't have the money for it.
Right.
I made a lot of money from Bad Medicine. A lot of that money went right into the networks.
Sure.
I printed 1,000 extra copies of the networks. I splurged a little bit on the art. So the art for the networks looks absolutely fantastic, but the money for that has to come somewhere.
Sure.
I got hit with some unexpected costs. Some people came back to me and said, we didn't bill you correctly. You actually owe a lot more. And I actually got that from 3 different sources. So
delightful.
Yeah. So between all those things, the money that I thought I had in the bank for the Bad Medicine reprint just wasn't there anymore. So because of that, I'm doing so because of that, and because I started working on an expansion, and the expansion was like playing the expansion was like, hey, this is really good. I really, really enjoy this. I'm doing the strategy of funding the reprint with the expansion, and it's something that I'm actually really excited about. It started to get me because I've demoed Bad Medicine for over a full year at this point,
right.
A year and a half, and and this is just a great shot in the arm for me. I mean, you might think I'm being cynical and talking about finances, but I mean, in terms of morale, that I've got all these new
Sure.
cards to look forward to. There's a new mechanism in the game that adds surprise cards to your pitch. And people playing it have found it really, really funny. And it still hits that core. It scratches that Bad Medicine itch, but it's just more of everything. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy that this game that's gotten so much love so far, hopefully can continue to enjoy a nice life.
So it's essentially a party game, right? I mean, I haven't played Bad Medicine, but I see it's 3 to 8 players, and it sounds like you could probably squeeze more in if you really wanted to.
No, I wouldn't suggest squeezing more in.
Okay.
It is absolutely a party game, though. So the way the game works is the players are all pharmaceutical companies coming up with awful drugs,
right?
And it's a pitching party game. So
okay.
And similar to games like Fun Employed and Snake Oil, I guess but wait, there's more. Those are 3 of the reference points, I'd say,
sure,
for Bad Medicine. But Bad Medicine is different because, like all those other games, generally, there's 2 steps in a turn. There's a turn where you sort of figure out what it is you want to pitch,
right.
And then there's the turn where you actually execute the pitch. And Snake Oil, I think you just get dealt cards, but Fun Employed has this thing where you get to pull cards out in real time, so there's like a little bit of a game to what cards you're going to use in your pitch. And Bad Medicine, what happens is every card has 3 things on it: a little bit of a drug name, a little bit of a description, and a side effect. And on your turn, you decide what cards you're going to use for which part. Like, you're going to choose 3 cards for the name of your drug and 2 cards to describe. They're going to be keywords that you have to use in your pitch. Then if you're playing the 3 to 4 player game, the other players will give you one of their cards, and you have to choose your favorite side effect from those cards. So the side effect doesn't come from you. You just have to sort of choose from the thing that got handed to you. And that's really important in the game because I found that if the players were coming up with their own side effect, it was kind of flat.
Right.
Like, it's not like a Cards Against Humanity, look at the thing, what's the funniest thing I can put in, but it's more of this shared storytelling kind of thing where you don't have full control over your pitch. Like in the 4-player game, your side effects are going to come from someone else, so you don't have full control over that. And I really, I find I found that really added to the game. I found that added to the game a lot. Whereas now, if you play 5 to 8 players, you team up. So one player formulates the drug, comes up with the drug, including the side effect, and then they pass it to their teammate face down, and the teammate has to pitch it without looking at the cards first. So it's a complete surprise because one player is the lab and the other player is the marketing department, and neither side knows what the other's doing. So that comes off really funny also. And again, neither player has full control over the pitch. One player can come up with the cards in the pitch, but the other player is the one who actually executes the pitch without knowing what the cards are and not having any control of what the cards are. So that comes off as being really funny also, and that's a really fun experience. But the reason I capped it at 8 is because I need to limit it to 4 pitches. Anything more than 4 pitches, and you start to forget. I mean, you can try it with 5 pitches, but I think you'll find that people will forget what the first pitch was.
That sounds like an opportune sort of game to play at my Toastmasters meetings to make everybody think on their feet.
Oh, yeah. This is absolutely a game to think on their feet. And it's funny because it shares a little bit of DNA with But Wait, There's More, because But Wait, There's More, there's also like a lot of this, you have this unexpected card and you have to deal with it. And what makes it different than But Wait, There's More is there's a little more game to Bad Medicine, which is not like a dig at But Wait, There's More. I think But Wait, There's More is more of a mass market game. So sure. I think that's the game that, you can really bring out to just about anyone. Bad Medicine, I think, is really more of a game that you can bring out. I mean, generally most people can play it, but there's a lot more moving parts to it.
Sure.
So it's not like the dead simple game that But Wait, There's More is. So I think, both games are very, very good, but I think they're slightly different audiences that they cater to. I think my game is more of like if you've ever played Concept or Attribute, those are party games with a little bit more going on under the hood. And I think Bad Medicine falls under that category.
Cool. Every time I hear you say Bad Medicine, since we're both from the New Jersey area, all I can think of is Bon Jovi. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's seriously, it's going through my head right now. And I would sing, but I have respect for the people listening and you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's the least I could do.
Don't forget also what one of the biggest industries in New Jersey is.
Pharma?
Exactly. So this game is kind of my love letter to New Jersey.
If I was going to do a love letter to New Jersey, it would be about bagels and Taylor ham and pizza. In no particular order, because if you asked me to hierarchy that, I'd probably explode.
Yeah, and you could also do an area control game of diners. That would also work.
Oh, you certainly. This is something that I try to explain this to people all the time in Michigan. Have you been to Michigan?
Yes.
Okay, it's a beautiful state, right? Like we have tons of open space here, and this is something you don't have in New Jersey, at least in the northern part of the state. You just don't have the kind of space you have here. You have these just massive parks. It's beautiful.
Yeah, nice high speed limit too.
Exactly. And if you go to Flint, you have water that's more metal than water. And if you go to Detroit, you have like one cop and a RoboCop statue. So, but they don't have diners here. There's no such thing as a Greek diner. And so they have these things that are called Coney Islands, which is also the name of the hot dog they eat here, right? But a Coney Island is this hollow amalgamation of what a diner should be. So, like, you go to a diner, and I try to explain this to people. It's like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're hungry. You stop at the diner. What do you get to eat? Well, quite literally, what do you want to eat? Because you can have everything.
Breakfast all day,
right. You're like, I want prime rib with eggs and bacon and a shrimp cocktail and a glass of white wine. Okay, no problem.
You got it, honey. Yeah. And or like 3 p.m, what do I want? I'll have some scrambled eggs.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah.
And absolutely.
Corned beef hash and eggs, a little bacon on the side, some toast, you're good. And always coffee. And people, I get so much crap at work because I say coffee.
Yeah.
that and dog, it comes out. You can't help it.
Yeah.
So you got the Bad Medicine expansion, and that Kickstarter starts May 2nd, I believe.
May 2nd. It's called Bad Medicine Second Opinion.
Bad Medicine Second Opinion. Okay, and this podcast will be airing, I believe May 8th is the planned release date. So people will be hearing this while your Kickstarter is running, and that's really cool that you're funding the reprint out of the Kickstarter for the expansion. I've seen other companies be doing that. That sort of plan, and that makes a lot of sense for a small publisher to kind of just finance the main operation by sort of offering the other thing there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea